Welcome dear students. Our next topic is aminoglycosides. So aminoglycosides can be simply be called as aminocyclitols. So where a sugar is attached glycosidically. So here a sugar moiety which is attached glycosidically. That means as we know that what is a glycosides. So glycosides are simply they are sugar plus a non-sugar part. Okay, it is having a sugar and a non-sugar part, and the sugar part is usually we will call it as that is glycons, and the non-sugar part we know it is called aglycons. So they are aglycons in nature. So in simply what we understood by using a glycoside means, so glycosides are that is sugar which is attached by means of an O linkage to a non-sugar part. It may be either a flavonoid, it can be either a that means a terpenoid, or it may be an alkaloid, like that. So that is called a glycosidic linkage. So the linkage of a sugar with that of any non-sugar part by means of an O linkage that is connected from the sugar moiety. So that is called a glycoside. So a sugar with a glycosidic linkage, it can be similar called, that is sugar is not a simple sugar, it is an amino sugar. We can call it as amino sugar. So it is aminoglycosides. So glycosides amino. So glycosides in the word itself we can call it as it is having a sugar as well as non-sugar part. So they are amino sugars which are linked glycosidically are called aminoglycosides. They can simply be called it as aminocyclitols also because of the cyclohexane ring system that is present in the structure. Aminocyclitols in general, so they are usually cyclohexanes, and with several substituted as well as unsubstituted, which contains that is substituted as well as unsubstituted type of, and unsubstituted types of what hydroxyl group is there. It may be hydroxyl or amino group. Okay, or amino group, and this will bring about increase in water solubility. So the water solubility will be increasing. So that is about this aminocyclitose. So aminocyclitose are cyclohexane with several substituted or unsubstituted hydroxyl or amino group, and this things will cause the increase in the water solubility. So they are called as cyclitols. So cyclitols and aminocyclitose means they are amino group which is attached with that of the that is cyclohexane mix. So they are called aminocyclitols. So they are simply substituted or unsubstituted type of hydroxyl or amino substitution, and this causes increase in the water solubility. They are called as cyclitols. Okay, and examples of this type of categories is streptidine of streptomycin. Streptidine is there. Then streptamine is also there. Then another one is streptamine. Streptamine is there, and they can be called as 1,3. This all things can be called as 1,3 diguanidino, guanidino, or 1,3 diaminoinositol respectively. So it can be guanidino or it can be otherwise be called 1,3 diinositol. Inositol is also can be called like that. So that's the structures of this thing, and we can just represent the structure also. So here you can see examples, that is streptidine, streptamine, then 2-deoxystreptamine and streptanimide. So what are the basic differences? These are basically ionositol ring system. So ionositol means simply sugars ring system where it is a cyclohexane. Simply I will represent like a cyclohexane where there is a hydroxyl group in all the positions. Okay, they can be called as an ionositol. You can write it in the chair form of the structure also. So this is a chair form of a sugar molecule that I have drawn in the structures. as you know that comparing to the boat and chair structure, the chair is more stable. So that's why I have represented like this. Okay. And I also told there is a streptidin is a diguanidine moiety. So diguanidine means the guanidine is the structure with the NHC double bond NH2, that is known as guanidine. Here you can see in the streptidin there are two guanidine molecules also. You can number this also, that is it can be numbered as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So this is a numbering of this compounds, that is streptidin. Similar is a numbering also. In the case of streptamine, you can see that is instead of this guanidine, you can see that there is only amino structure. Okay, that's the difference. And deoxy, there is a that is in the second position, one hydroxyl group is not present in the case of deoxy, and streptanamide. Okay. So where you can see that there is NHCH3, that is methyl amino substitution is there in the two first as well as in the third position. So that is the basic examples for this aminoglycol with inositol structure and all. Next is coming to the characteristics of aminoglycosides, in where we can see that they are polycations. So they are usually polycations in nature, and these are highly polar in nature also. They are highly polar in nature, so hence they are more water soluble. So they are of high water solubility is there, and usually they are of basic salt. They are appeared as basic salt with acids. So they are basic in nature and form salt with acids. And usually these compounds are poorly absorbed also. So they are not readily absorbed. They are poorly absorbed on oral administration. And so they are mainly given in the form of parenteral preparation. So they are poorly absorbed when given oral administration. That's why they are mainly given in the form of parenteral administration. And they are quickly broken down in the stomach. That's why it must be given injected. So they are poorly absorbed and also quickly break down in the stomach. Break down in stomach also. That is also a reason it is readily degraded. So they can be given in parenteral preparation. And their properties, it can be cross the it has the capability to cross the placental membrane and not the blood-brain barrier. Since it can't be it is unable to cross the BBB, that is blood-brain barrier. So that's why this compound cannot be given in the treatment of meningitis. Meningitis, it is not a good one for giving meningitis. And unless they are injected directly into the CNS. So it can be given in certain cases, it has to be directly injected to the CNS. So that is also an option is there. So when you are giving directly to a CNS, it can be given in the treatment of meningitis. Otherwise, it is not given as the treatment of meningitis. So that's are the characteristics. They are polycations in nature. They are highly polar, so that it is having high water solubility. They are basic in nature. They can form salt with acids. They are poorly absorbed in the oral administration, and hence it is given parenterally, and also they will be broken down in the stomach also. That is also another reason for making it as a parenteral preparation. And usually they can cross the placental barrier. So this is not recommended for the first trimester and all. It can cross the blood-brain placental membrane, but it cannot cross the blood-brain barrier. So it is not a suitable candidate for meningitis. Instead, you can give it in the case of meningitis if you are injected directly into the CNS. Then there is a possibility of having it meningitis infection can be given. So these are the characteristics of general characteristics of aminoglycosides. Coming to the history of aminoglycosides, you can see that the first development of history of this aminoglycoside due to the introduction of streptomycin, and it was in 1939. The streptomycin was introduced, and it was introduced by Wachmann, and it is an effective candidate for the treatment of tuberculosis, that is streptomycin. And for this discovery, he got a Nobel Prize. Nobel Prize also. That is in 1952 for medicine. In 1952, he got a Nobel Prize, and later Walkman. Then the second phase of this drug, that is usually in 1949. The second drug of this category, that is aminoglycosides or aminocyclitol, is the neomycin. In 1940, in 1915, as well as 1916, the discovery has enlarged with Weinstein, and he discovered the neomycin and kanamycin into the market. Okay, that is sorry, no, not neomycin. It is kanamycin and it is as gentamicin. So that was gentamicin and kanamycin. Okay, genta and kanamycin. GEN. Gentamicin and kanamycin was the newer compounds, and you can see that these structures are very related, and they are usually having 2-deoxycyclic aminocyclitol ring. So they are having 2-deoxyaminocyclitol ring system is occurring in the case of this later structures as gentamicin, kanamycin, etc. That is the historical development of aminoglycosides. So aminoglycosides, the history is with the development of streptomycin, and was introduced by or discovered by Wachman, and he got into a phase that this can be used in the treatment of tuberculosis, and that was a discovery in 1939. And also this man Wachman has got Nobel Prize in 1952 also for this discovery. Later Wachman in 1949 also introduced this discovered this neomycin, and later in 1950 as well as in 1916 the Weinstein with the development of gentamicin as well as kanamycin, and these are having a 2-deoxyaminocyclitol ring system is present with that of this type of aminoglycosides. Coming to the spectrum of activity of this aminoglycosides, you can see that they are broad spectrum antibiotics having activity towards gram-positive as well as gram-negative bacterium, and they are basically having more action towards gram-negative bacillus. That basis use it is mainly used in the treatment of the gram-negative type of bacillus. And usually the aerobic gram-positive as well as gram-negative. Aerobic means one which will depend on oxygen. Okay, that is aerobic. So gram-positive as well as gram-negatives are less sensitive. There is an exception is there, that is in the case of Staphylococcus, it is more effective. And another one thing is in the case of anaerobic, they are resistant to aminoglycosides. So the anaerobic type of bacteriums are usually resistant to aminoglycosides. That is one thing. And of this spectrum of activity, this streptomycin is a drug of choice, especially for tuberculosis, and also it can be given for brucellosis as well as tularemia and Yersinia infection. So that is about streptomycin. So it can be given for TB, it can be given for brucellosis as well as tularemia, etc. So what do you mean by this brucellosis? Means it is usually caused due to that means from it is usually passing from the animals to human beings, and especially when we are using unpasteurized milk. Okay, so unpasteurized milk is the main reason for getting this brucellosis. And the disease is tularemia. Tularemia means it is an infection. It can be called as a rabbit fever or a that is fly disease, etc. Because by the sticking of certain flies or by means of the infection can be spread to from this rabbit. That can, since that way it is called a rabbit infection. That is usually fever is there. Another one thing is there is that is redness is there. Then it is also affecting the limbs also. That is a rare type of infectious disease that is called a tularemia. So for that purpose we can give this drug, and also it can be given for Yersinia type of infection, etc. And there is one common thing is also there. We can combine this one with beta-lactam antibiotics also, because it's done beta-lactam antibiotics is that is there is a that is synergistic action of beta-lactam with that of this aminoglycoside is that this one. That is, when we are giving this beta-lactam, this causes the inhibition of cell wall synthesis, and so the cell wall breakage will happen, and that helps in this aminoglycosides to increase the action into the body. That is also an important thing for aminoglycosides, along with beta-lactam antibiotics if we are given. So that's about the spectrum of activity. So it is having a broad spectrum, and of this it is more towards the gram negative bacilli, and on aerobic gram positive and gram negative they are very less activity, and anaerobic they are very, very resistant to that also, and the streptomycin is having used in the treatment of tuberculosis, brucellosis, tularemia, etc. And also that is this combination is also a good one, as it helps in the passage of the broken down of the breakage of this cell wall, etc., where its action will be increasing, or the potentiation of action is increasing if we are given along with the beta-lactam antibiotics with that of aminoglycoside. That is the spectrum of activity. So that is about the general things which we are studying about aminoglycosides. The rest of the things, that is a mechanism of action, and the common to the compounds, everything, as well as the chemistry of the structure related to that of, and as well as the classification we will study in the next portion.